The Disneyland Limited, now leaving for a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Hey gang, welcome to another exciting adventure on the Grand Circle Tour podcast. I'll be your captain today, Captain Stan Solo. And joining me today, I only have one of the tour guides with me. I got Jungle Skipper Jay. Jay, how are you doing? And waltz up.
You know, Stan, I love being your backup.
Oh, I love it when you back me up.
So my waltz up this week is actually not music. It's a piece of merchandise. It's an older piece of merchandise. Just 4 hours ago, I won a WDCC piece on eBay of Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, nice. What is it? WCC? It sounds like
Walt Disney Classics Collection. They were very nice, fine porcelain sculptures you could buy at the Disney store.
Nice. I thought you were like doing Roman numerals or something there for a second. Oh, that's great. My waltz up, I'm going to save it for our detour episode that's coming up, because basically the entire episode is going to be my waltz up.
Stan, you said, what is this detour you speak of, this Grand Circle Tour detour you speak of?
Okay, yes, our detour. It's a kind of a new thing. We have one out already, and it's by popular demand. People want to hear more of us, and so we're going to, let our passengers have more of us. We're going to... Every other week is our plan, and we have a special guest today, and this will be our very last special guest for our regular show. Going forward, special guests will be on the Detour show, along with trip reports and movie reviews. And I understand you're doing vinyls? What's this?
Well, I'm going to plug that too. We, in addition to the Grand Circle Tour Detour, I will have a monthly vinyl review of a Disney vinyl available for sale. And Dan is my first guest. Later this month, we'll be reviewing the Haunted Mansion picture disc.
That is great. I can hardly wait to hear your vinyl reviews, and I'm excited about Detour. Detour is going to be great. We're going to have guests on there. We're going to have trip reports. We're going to have movie reviews. All my favorite things. I'm not sure. I got to come up with topics now because I always have guests on when I'm on the regular show. Speaking of guests, we got a fantastic one for you today. Disney master artist Kevin John. Kevin John, welcome on board and waltz up.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Jason, Stan. It is so wonderful to be here with you guys. You two are amazing cruise directors already. Tour guides. I love it. Amazing already. Waltz up with Kevin John. Kevin John is actually staring at an original Rolly Crump painting that is, I move art around my studio here and my home. I don't really have a lot of my own art up because I like looking at and collecting other artists' art. And I have an original by the incomparable Rolly Crump that was hung in his home for years, and it now hangs in mine. And it's been sitting here on an easel in front of me for inspiration for the last couple of months. And now I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to move it to and where I need the energy next. So that's Waltz Up with Kevin John. Rolly Crump original art. Doesn't get better than that.
That is amazing. That is so cool. The only thing better than having, it's probably pretty equal. A Kevin John piece of art and a Rolly Crump piece of art. Those are
Thank you, but I'm not even in the same conversation.
But Kevin John, you have me and the passengers in suspense. What is the artwork of?
It is a gorgeous little painting. Well, I'll show you guys after I explain it. it has a little bit of a Day of the Dead theme. He did it as part of that line of paintings that he did, this a series of Day of the Dead paintings. And it's funny, I don't know, and I don't know if he did it to do the series or he did it to decorate his home, because his one whole half of his home is all Day of the Dead, you know, and his paintings adorned everywhere. And so it's a black background with three individual skeletons riding I guess it would be a triple ride or bicycle. You know, you have the two riders. Well, this has three seats on it and four wheels, and it's awesome. And in the front there is a kind of a bold skeleton with a halo, and he's got like little wings, and he's up off the seat doing his thing. He's leading the whole thing. And behind him is a little girl skeleton. She's got long hair and little wings. Her tongue is out. She's got this nice little tail. And she's kind of reaching out to get this skeleton in front of her. And behind them is a Rolly Crump skeleton. I mean, it's the profile, you know, and it looks, this is all characterized, but it looks just like Rolly. If you know Rolly, it's got his eyes and everything, and he's kind of just pushing things from behind, laughing along. And the painting is special to me because I'm a huge Halloween and Day of the Dead fan. From way back before Day of the Dead was kind of a thing here in the States. And the piece just spoke to me. It really did. And it was one of Rolly's favorite pieces that he painted. So again, it hung in his home for a long time. So I'll show it to you here. It's a special piece for me. Come here, you. It's a big day.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's no joke.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Really cool.
I was trying, when you said four wheels, I was trying to figure it out, and now now I see. I get it.
And it's an optical illusion, isn't it?
Yeah, that is so awesome. Yeah. Are you able to take a picture of that and post it on our Grand Circle Tour Facebook page?
Boy, I don't know about that.
No? Okay.
Right, you know, artists' rights and everything. You know what? What I'll do is I'll do a photo from kind of a distance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Don't take a high quality. It's something that's
yeah. Let me do that, like
or
kind
weird,
of
or a weird angle.
Yeah, sitting on the easel at an angle.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I don't want people printing this off and hanging it on their walls or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
And just with your phone, like
I think it's really, really cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is great. Let's start things off with the early days of Kevin John, and we'll kind of go forward to what he's working on now, and maybe we'll find out a little bit what's happening in the future. Sure. Yeah, we'll see what we can squeeze out of him. I don't want to get him in trouble, but we'll see. Kevin, where did you grow up originally?
I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania called Erie, right literally on Lake Erie, little town squished between New York and Ohio.
Okay, yeah, I think, and at an early age, you were interested in art right off the hop, or is this something that came later?
It it's just something that it was always there. I kind of fell in love with it. Gosh, I can remember being 4 or 5 years old, and I have this attachment to things, you know. When I like something, for some reason, I want to interpret it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, you know, it was little drawings of Batman and Robin and dinosaurs, you know. A few years later, 1977, I was in 3rd grade, and then for the next 10 years, it was everything Star Wars, you know. It's
all right.
It's all that I drew. It's the action figures. It was my playtime. It was my everything. And it was about then that I realized that I could do something that not everybody could do.
Yeah.
You know, I was about maybe 10 years old or so. And you know, the art classes get a little tiny bit more intense, you know, with, you know, we've now graduated from, you know, sticking cotton on colored paper to make a snowman to now, you know, they're requiring us to actually use our hands to, you know, draw and replicate things, or, you know, do little billboard or, you know, bulletin boards and all kinds of things. And it seemed right off the bat that I kind of separated from the pack. And, you know, other than that, I was, oh boy, I was not a kid that was real. I was always outgoing, but for whatever reason, the particular school that I was at, there was a lot of bullying that went on. You know, now they call it bullying. Back then, they were just kids being little a-holes, you know. And so anyway, but when I did these drawings, all of a sudden things changed for that minute. Oh, that was cool. We can't do that, you know, or, you know, I got that little bit of approval or love from them that I was starving for, you know, because I was kind of that outcast, you know. And so I learned right away that if I created art, I could make people happy. And if I created art, I could make people like me or love me. And so I kind of stuck to that right away. 10 years old, 9 years old, somewhere around there. And that's how I identified myself then. That Kevin John kid, yeah, he's the kid that draws all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Always the guy. I was the kid. I was the art kid, the art guy, whatever. So I started branding myself without even knowing it when I was 8 or 10 years old, you know. Kevin John, that's the guy that draws. So when people needed stuff drawn or that sort of thing, you know, for school reports and that sort of thing, I was the guy they would come to, you know. It's almost like having a small business before you were even charging for it. My their currency at the time was, you know, the acceptance of myself to them. You know what I mean? They would now accept me. So that's the currency that I was charging for at the time for that artwork. When I got into 8th grade, I went to a different school. The school that I was at finally decided that they'd have enough of Kevin John doing all this artwork all the time and none of his schoolwork. So the private Catholic school decided to tell me and my parents that I was no longer their material and that I should go about my way and really take a second look at my life, because right now I have no future. So I went to an amazing school in the Mill Creek School District, where I wear my class ring still every day to remind me where I'm from. And it was because of the Mill Creek School District and McDowell High School, the reason why I'm here. So I go to this new school, 8th grade. I go from a school with 30 kids in a class to now there's, 300 kids in the class. And I cannot have enough friends at this point. I mean, it's just everywhere I turned, there were different groups of individual kids everywhere. And each one of them had their own kind of, they call them cliques now, but they were all these little individual little groups of personalities and likes and all these delicious little flavors to just buzz around and taste, So I made friends with everyone, and I was the kid that drew. So it was a really great, it was a great exchange, and these weren't people that I had to earn their love or their respect or anything. It just kind of was given to me, and that came from the principal on down. That gentleman saved my life. You know, he took a crumpled, broken down little 7th grader that had been, you know, cast away by, you know, the Catholic private school, and he took this crumpled little child and kind of straightened me out a little bit and smoothed me out and showed me a little love and told me that I was welcome to the family. And he recognized that I liked to draw, and the deal was with him, is that he would find special art projects and around the school for me to do. You know, if there was a poster that needed drawn, I would do that for him. He would let everybody know that was my artwork, and I'd have those cool projects to work on, but I had to keep my grades up. And that was the deal that he made me. And I had the best grades of my entire career during that class. Nevertheless, during that year. So I started really understanding how the business worked.
Mm-hmm. Very young.
Real young, you know, and I'm seeing this, you know, from eyes of a 50-year-old now. I didn't realize it then that I was cataloging all of these lessons and all of these, you know, marketing directives, if you will. But I was, and I still use a lot of these things today. When I got to my freshman year of high school, you know, it was kind of shown me that, you know, at this point, you know, a person can make a career as an artist. You know, that is a thing. You could be an art teacher, you know, like the teachers that I had. You know, you could go into, you know, graphic design, advertising, and that's where I flowed. I saw myself working in advertising, and then there was also, you know, working in animation for Walt Disney. You know, and I didn't want to be an animator per se. Once I found out, you know, it was a lot of repetitive drawing and everything, and that just bores me. I like to explore. Once I do something, I move on from it. I want to step forward. But they do require these gorgeous background paintings and everything. So I think that if I ever had a fit at that point in my mind for me with the Disney company, it was probably that. But the world was wide open for me at that point. You know, this is 1984, and the world is still small, or I should say a large place, a much larger place before it's gotten so small. And a kid was allowed to have his imagination in terms of what he wanted to do with his life. And so I worked really hard. Over the next 4 years, I played football. I played soccer. The athletics really helped in terms of learning discipline and working within a structure with other people and that sort of thing. And there are more lessons that I learned that 4 years playing football that I use every day with what I do than any other art lesson I ever got. My art teacher from my junior and senior year of high school was the most exceptional woman in my life ever at that point. She was nearly retired. And I always say, you know, looking, you know, a year out of retirement she was, and, you know, had a nice little gig going there and nobody bothered her. She could have just kicked back and coasted for those 2 years. And she got a hold of me as a junior, and I could not pass her grades. I could not pass her art class. The first thing I handed in the first day, you know, take off your shoe, put it on your desk, draw your shoe. I could do this with my eyes closed. I send it in. She sends it back to me 2 days later, like with a D-.
Wow.
Doesn't even know who I am. What is, you know, what is going on here? And I'm the guy that draws. I mean, this is what I do, you know? So what she was doing was not settling. and not allowing me to settle. She saw more potential there, or didn't, and was going to do whatever she had to do to yank that potential out. And it's because of her that I am where I am again, McDowell High School. I did not go to college. I started selling art professionally my senior year in high school. Again, just marketing my work, marketing my brand, figuring out niches in which to sell the art. Back home, we lived in a very historic town. The fleet for the Battle of Lake Erie was constructed right there in my hometown back in the early 1800s. And the town kind of grew up around that. So there's a lot of steeped history right there. And so we have, because we're on the lake, we've got a couple lighthouses. We've got the Brig Niagara, which is a big replica of one of the flagships that Oliver Hazard Perry won the Battle of Lake Erie with. And just it seemed at that point there were a couple artists around town that had painted or drawn these historical sites, So that interested me a little bit because it was history. I took a commission job from the secretary at McDowell High School to render a drawing of the old brick building, a beautiful old colonial brick that her brother's, he's a CPA, his CPA office was in this old building, and she's giving it to him as a gift. So I did that. I did this drawing in pen and ink, black and white. I'm colorblind, so I always stayed with my strength, which was black and white and illustration.
Was that your first paid gig?
Paid gig, cash paid gig. Yeah, this is it. This was the first thing for actual cash. So part of it was $60, I think. I worked like 3 weeks on the drawing every day in school. They gave me an area to work so that I could work on this thing. I mean, they were so supportive.
That must have been like so exciting, getting paid to do art. You've been building up to this point.
Yeah, the school newspaper, literally was writing an article about it at that point. It was this wonderful little cyclone of all of these little promotional things going on with what became Kevin John Studios. This was the infancy. Mm-hmm. So and I also have at this point, I'm the featured artist in the display case outside the office, so it just happened to be my month that was, I'm up there that month as a senior, and I'm doing this drawing and I'm getting paid for it. So all these people know about it, and school newspapers writing about it. And we had a gigantic high school. There were 700 kids just in my class alone. Wow. Just in my senior class. So it was hopping, and it was good. It was, you felt great. It was that 15 minutes in your life where, everything is perfect for you. You have a car, you got a girlfriend, you got a job at the soda shop. Now you're making your way, whatever you're doing, playing your guitar at the bar on the weekends for cash or whatever it is. Well, I'm creating art now for money, Yeah.
Little Kevin John made the big leagues.
Right. Football season, my senior season went great. My teacher's awesome. And all of this stuff is going on. So, I'm just brimming over with confidence and vigor for life, and what's to come. And I took the drawing into a local gallery because part of the deal was that I would get a matting put on it, Mm-hmm. I take the drawing in and I set it down, and the gallery owner comes out, and I said, I have this, thing that I have got to do here. I got to get this thing matted. And she says, "Oh, is this so-and-so's drawing?" And I said, "No." And this so-and-so was a guy that was doing that type of stuff, And I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, whose is it?" I said, "Well, I drew this." And she goes, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "I'm Kevin John Chabinsky. I go to McDowell High School. How are you?" And that woman looked at this opportunity and talked to me a little bit about what I'm doing and everything. And she said, how would you like to create some art for me to sell here in this gallery?
Wow.
So we, right then and there, we worked out the themes and the numbers and shook on it. And Diane Esser is the woman that I'm speaking of, and we are still dear friends today. What she did then over those next couple of months was guide me through the process of how to go from a blank canvas or piece of paper to rolling out printed artwork that would sell not only in her gallery, but other local retailers. What's the subject matter? What are people going to buy? Well, at the time, the Erie history was really big. That Brig Niagara was being rebuilt, and there's all this fervor. Again, 1987, it was a good time. It was a good time to be around. And a lot of things going on, and you just felt it. Small town like ours was still relevant at that time. And what we thought was a bright future ahead for it. So the town was just swelling over with this, history, flavor, and everything. So my drawings of these local historical sites and points of interest hit off right away. They started selling. We premiered it on a local television station. Again, this woman Diane just kind of guided me through and taught me how to do everything. And within a year, I was doing all of that myself. I was marketing all my own work. I was having the stuff printed, produced, running, doing the numbers, figuring out the concepts, all of it. And so that's that. That takes me up until just after my senior year. I continued to sell artwork from there. And I mean, there's obviously a whole big chapter 2, but I wanted to give you guys a little break. I'm sorry. I get carried away with this story. It used to be, I used to tell this story, and there was only about 5 years worth of stuff to tell. Now I've got 32 years left, it's, we've gone from a sonnet to a soliloquy. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I'm sitting here being very quiet, but I'm just enjoying the story.
That is so cool. I'm thinking, like, I grew up in a small town. I'm thinking back in my small town, and we had local artists that would also do paintings and that. And their art was extremely high sought after, but mostly by the locals.
Yeah.
So you got to break out of this at some point.
That is an amazing segue, Stan. Good Lord. You want to write for me, please? That was an amazing segue. And that's pretty much what I did. I looked at what other artists were doing locally. I strove to be that term local artist, to be included in that conversation as one of our local artists, and, a year and a half into me selling this artwork, I'm now the local artist. I am one of the dozen or whatever, that's making a little cash selling art, but no one's making a living. All right, no one's.
Yeah, that's how it was back home growing up too.
So right away, right out of the gate, as soon as I graduated from high school, one of the places that I wanted to sell this art was at an art festival. Right, I'd gone there as a kid. That's what artists do. They take art to an art festival and sell it. Meanwhile, Diane is selling my work in the 2 galleries that she has, one at the mall, which gets major traffic, and she's promoting the hell out of me, and at her main gallery, where I guess she would entertain her more high-end clientele. And she was selling, some amazing Mill Pond Press stuff at the time. National, Robert Bateman. She was selling major art at the time. And then this little kid from, down the block. So I've set up what would now be called a pop-up or a satellite at this arts festival. And, I had my stuff there. And, well, I show up the first day, and right away I feel a little bit out of place because I'm wearing a shirt and a tie and dress slacks. Well, I'm going to work. And I had a part-time job in high school, and this is what I wore to my job. My dad has a job, and he wears a shirt and tie to work, so this is my job. Why wouldn't I wear a shirt and tie? So I'm looking up and down what they call Artist Row, and all these other artists. First of all, no one's my contemporary. I'm 17, 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
No one's my contemporary. You've got the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and then the retired folks, and no one is dressed like they're ready to do business.
Yeah.
They're all kind of just chilling either with themselves, hanging out as little groups, or they're hanging out in back of their tents and everything. And I said, people are just walking by. They're not even going into the tents. They go in the tents, they walk right back out. Well, I stood outside my tent with a stack of business cards in my hand. And every person that walked by, I met, I introduced myself, I shook their hand, I gave them the card, they came into the tent, I told them about the artwork, and I was selling artwork like I was selling ice cream cones on a hot day at the Magic Kingdom. I mean, that art was rolling out. News came by, did a little segment on me. I called a newspaper, I was always all about promotion. But I realized real quick that while I do these festivals, I'm going to be different from all these other artists up and down the row. But I got to figure out a way not to do these festivals, because this is not where I want. I don't want to be 50-year-old Kevin John sitting at a festival in Erie, Pennsylvania, selling my paintings for $65 a pop. It's just, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to explore it a little more. So I figured out a way how, if I got to do these events like, festivals, how do I separate myself from the other artists? I'm just in Artist Row. Now, I know I'm selling the hell out of these prints and everything, but not everyone's getting to my tent. There are 16,000 people are coming through this wine festival this weekend. How do I let everyone know who I am? How do I get a piece of artwork in every one of their hands? So I came up with this program where basically I went to all these festivals around town and put a proposal in front of them that I would create a limited edition piece of art for just that evening.
This sounds familiar.
Right? The only way that they can get this piece of art by Kevin John is to come to the festival, and it's offered at a special price that night and only that night. And the more you buy, the prices get even better. We were doing like 15 for one, 2 for 25, or 3 for 50, or something like that.
You should have told me that. I would have bought more when I saw you.
It was nuts. Again, that was, when you could be, I was running my own show, and that was it. I made decisions, and that was just, just people were just throwing money at you, and you sell 400 or 500 prints in one night at, an average of $15 a piece. That's a good job. That I like. So I sold this package to all the festivals around town, and then I signed them to 3 and 5 year deals, so that I knew that 7 times a year I had this income coming in. Now I'm also doing all the labor, producing all the prints. I'm financing the whole thing myself, but it's building something. It's building this thing. Now I'm starting to do some of these things in Pittsburgh, 2 hours outside of town, in Cleveland. So I'm starting to get exposure of my art to a broader market as well, because I have something to take to them. That very quickly took a sharp left turn, and that left turn ended me knee deep in the sports industry. As what we used to call a celebrity sports artist, Kevin John. There was a gap there that wasn't being filled. Leroy Neiman had become, he and Merv Corning, the two premier sports artists of, that last end of the, 60s, 70s, 80s. And there was a gap there. And we saw that opportunity, so we started building a brand within that. And it really happened by accident. An NFL player saw my artwork at a charity event that I had donated the art to, and he asked me if I would do a drawing of him for his restaurant that he was opening up. And I did the drawing, and it just went from there. I saw that as an opportunity to start marketing directly to the athletes. Let's not even worry about print sales to fans and all of that. I'd done that. I wanted some built-in higher clientele, higher numbers, that sort of thing. Now we're no longer selling original art for $300 a piece. Now we're selling art for $10,000 a piece.
Nice.
Fewer clients. The work is growing in leaps and bounds, and I am becoming known in all of these little NFL towns all over the country, or not NFL, little NFL towns. I was at little pockets of NFL fans and NFL towns around the country, if you understand my meaning.
Yeah, gotcha.
From there, we developed a game day lithograph program, which essentially was like a bobblehead giveaway type of night that was underwritten by a sponsor. Well, let's not do a bobblehead. Let's do a Kevin John lithograph.
And what stadium was this first at?
Oh my gosh, where was it first? Well, we did the test in Erie with the Erie Seawolves and the Erie Otters hockey. So hockey and baseball, OHL baseball or OHL hockey. I'm sorry, and at the time we were, I think AAA. The Seawolves were, but that sprung immediately to working with major clubs all over the place. The Cardinals, a lot of arena football, different NFL teams would commission me for different things. It really spread like wildfire. Now, we were working really, really hard at this. The promotional machine was working. But I was in my 30s and I could run like crazy at that point, and complete the art in a timely manner. And the art at that point, again, I'm still just drawing. I'm doing this all.
At this point, it's still black and white, right?
All just black and white. So yeah. I'm riding a car and it has half an engine. Okay. I'm no air conditioning. I'm just working just with black and white art, and we're starting to build this brand. We've got 15 years into building this brand at this point, and it's working. It's not accelerating at lightning pace. I didn't become a millionaire overnight, though we're climbing there. And excuse me. So the sports art, we really saw a market there where we could sell to the sponsors, the teams, and the athletes instead of the fan. If the art trickled down to the fan, it would go through a game day promotion that they would pay me to do, or a commission for a special commemorative or something that they would then distribute to their fans either by sale as a premium gift or whatever. Mm-hmm. So once again, Kevin John Studios and the artist Kevin John is becoming known all over the country in all these different sports markets because these people are coming to games and they're getting my artwork. I'm there to autograph them for them and take photos. And again, I've been doing this since I was 17 years old. This is nothing new. And it's just a little bit larger scale, a little bit larger stage, getting that foundation of that brand built. Not shortly after that did a sports agent call me and offered to represent me. I did some work for one of his clients, and another of his client, Terrell Owens, who at this point was the biggest name in football, wanted me to do a piece for him. And so the agent called me and talked to me about it. And then as the agent's talking to me about it, he goes, "You have any representation?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Do you want representation? I'd like to help you." So he helped me, again, negotiate that the very treacherous waters of the sports industry from that standpoint. And it was awesome. We got a contract with ESPN to create art live on camera at major sporting events around the country. Everything from Super Bowl to Final Four and all those pre-games and PGA. I did art live on the Golf Channel. And here's the funny part about that story. So the agent calls me. This is 2003. The agent calls me. Things are humming, starting to get really good commissions, and everyone's taking notice. We're still working in black and white.
Yeah. No, when you say black and white, is this pencil or is this pen?
It's all pencil. And every now and then I would wash a little gray color wash in there if I had to, maybe of the background or something.
Shadowing or something.
But I wouldn't go past gray, no color.
Yeah.
So
agent calls you.
Agent calls me and he says, "You're going to love this. I got a phone with ESPN. Blah blah blah. They want you to do this. It's going to be great. However, they just want you to do it in color, so it pops on screen." So.
And here's colorblind Kevin, John.
I had to quickly learn not only how to see color where I couldn't, but I also had to teach myself how to paint at an acceptable level to be shown on global television.
Mm-hmm.
So that lasted 5 years. It was awesome. We went like crazy. We worked like horses, really, really hard. Building that brand within that universe and getting the exposure on those network television and the ESPNs and whatnot was fantastic too. Then the market crashed in 2009, and we immediately saw a backslide because folks were losing their jobs, they were getting laid off, and businesses were closing. And if you just laid off 10,000 people from your, nationwide chain, you are not going to sponsor the bobblehead night at the local ballpark. You're not going to spend any money there as a sponsor in front of everyone when you just laid off half the town. So sponsorship money in sports dried up, and essentially that's when working with the teams, that's where I was getting, that's where we were getting fed from. That's who essentially pays for everything. So when that dried up, we needed to strategically figure out some moves right away. Brock was good, and it was going to take him a little while to get this thing chugging again, and it did. But up at this point, it's going to be a couple of years, and how are we going to feed the beast for a couple of years? How do we keep things coming in and things going out? And we just moved to Florida, and I know no one. I live out here on the Barrier Island, right on the ocean, but I mean, we're on an island. I mean, it's not very big, and it's small little tiny towns, and they don't have a local baseball team that I can even go to and say, "Hey, I'm Kevin John. Let's do a lithograph program together." I mean, it's like I closed up shop and started over again. I had really great relationships built with Leaf trading cards and Topps trading cards and Beckett Magazine, and we found a way to continue to create interesting products for their consumers, continue to brand Kevin John within that sports universe. We translated a little bit to pop culture through this process, and it kept the lights on. So that was an important component to continue to build all those relationships that I had built over 25 years. Those are now seated and well grown. So you got a little commission over here, you got a little job over here, and these things keep the lights on while I redefined what my company was going to do, because sports was going to change forever.
So at this point, is this when you're doing like the dripping art?
Correct, right. So that's a great question, Stan. So the painting had evolved, and I was starting to kind of get known for this little style I had of, I do a torso, football player, head, shoulders, arm, and then torso. And I, instead of completing the rest of the person, I would drip the paint down.
Yeah.
And,
it's a very cool look.
From the torso. Thank you. We call it
very, very recognizable too. I see it right away. Hey, that's a Kevin John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that style had really caught on in the sports realm. So the trading card thing, we were illustrating, football cards and baseball cards, and I was illustrating pop culture cards, that would get autographed by the players and by the actors or musicians that I was creating this artwork for, which was really cool. My original art goes to them; it gets signed. It was very, very interesting and very good for branding and build a lot of good relationships that way too. And then I got a call out of nowhere from the Walt Disney Company.
Wow.
And it was a voicemail. They were interested in me talking to them about, doing some art for them. Now, I've been to the Disney galleries, and I love
the character artists at the resorts. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, I don't know the fit. I have now just reignited Kevin John Studios. It's now 2012. We got through that recession. We moved here to Florida, and I'm working with now I'm branding myself with different companies and everything. So we've stabilized, and we're chugging forward. We've got, I developed a really great relationship with the St. Louis Cardinals, where I go to spring training, and I do paintings right there at spring training. And it's a really great relationship there. So things were really, again, we worked really hard, but we got things rolling again. So the last thing I wanted to do was talk to somebody about becoming an employee somewhere, painting Mickey Mouse. I mean, I moved to Florida to be closer to Disney. Walt Disney himself is my favorite thing about the company. I mean, people love Beauty and the Beast, or people love Stitch or whatever. Not me, man. It all comes down to Walt. Walt has been a career template for me from the time I was 5 years old, and I didn't even know I was learning from him,
It all started with a businessman.
Right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So, I really didn't want to deal with it. I kind of ignored it. And then another call or two came, and my girlfriend said, just what's it going to hurt to just take the meeting, Yeah. And I said, all right. So I got myself together, and I don't even have a portfolio. Like when's the last time I had to roll into anywhere with a portfolio? I have all these sports drawings. I don't know what, I'm not a world-class painter. So I don't understand. And I don't animate. I'm not an animator. And I don't want to go to work for somebody. So I got it immediately. They sat me down. They talked about the art gallery program that they have. I was familiar. And essentially they said, we've got all these wonderful character artists that do all these wonderful paintings of Disney fine art characters. We have nobody that has a style like you that can replicate the stuff that's in the parks. They liked my style. I didn't even know I had a style, right? My style was the kid that can't see color is now painting in watercolor, and he's never taken a watercolor class in his life. He's swimming in the deep end, brother, and he's got no legs, okay? So this is where I thought I was. But they saw something there, and I signed my contract right then and there. I loved it. I was in a real nice position because, again, they were desirous of a very specific thing from me, and it set me right away on the right path. So that is what my artwork, the art that I do for Disney, that is what the subject matter are the Disney parks themselves and all the environments and elements of those attractions and parks that we love so much. And it's a little bit of a stylized realism. I work in watercolor, but I use it in a manner that really is very, very non-traditional. So my artwork has developed its own style by accident. It's not something I set out for, but I was doing a signing back in July over at Disney Springs at the art gallery, and my girlfriend was standing in back of the gallery just kind of watching, make sure everyone's in line, whatever. And the gentleman that really runs the art program for Disney was standing with her, and he said to her, look around here. Nothing, this doesn't look like anything else in here. His stuff is completely different than everything else we have here.
Yeah.
And I guess for the first time through my eyes, I didn't see myself as a lesser painter because I wasn't painting full out in oils or acrylics.
Mm-hmm.
I was tackling this medium that I often refer to it as herding cats. If you've ever tried to hug like 15 cats at the same time, it's not very easy. And that's really how watercolor works. So I put my head down and I said, all right, we're going to pull back on Kevin John Studios sports art for a while. We're going to transition. We'll go like heck for 3 years with Disney. I will work like a dog, 70 hours a week. I'll get to working on, becoming a world-class painter and all the other things and the marketing of the thing that you have to do and the messaging, and we'll just work like hell for them. And I said, if I do that for 3 years, maybe by the 5th year, somebody will recognize my art and they'll start buying it. Again, I'm opening up a new business in a global room with all, global sized room. No one, very few. I built a really good reputation and a name in sports, but there's a whole other clientele.
Yeah.
I'm opening up a new shop, so to speak. So, as much as Disney liked my work, if it didn't sell, I was on the hook, done. So I had to deliver. And maybe in 5 years, people would finally start recognizing the brand. Well, we worked like hell for 3 years, and it was 3 years was the line, man, where, people were really asking for the art and it was selling out, and it happened so much quicker than what I thought. The Disney fans had really taken to Kevin John Disney art.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, so when you do a painting for Disney Studios, I'm assuming that's what it's called, or Disney Art Studios, Disney Studios?
It's the Disney company, yeah. It's just
company, yeah. So do you come to them and say, I'd like to do a drawing of the Haunted Mansion, or do they come to you and say, we want a drawing of the Haunted Mansion? How does that happen?
In the beginning, I would essentially do a written concept, submit that. If they like the idea, then they say, yeah, go ahead and let's put some sketches together. So I put some concept sketches together, send those in. The visual conversation takes place then.
Yeah.
Let's
angle or whatever you want.
Try this, try that. Once we come down with a hardcore concept sketch that we can all agree on, then it goes through a couple of different stages. It goes through kind of a character continuity thing. If there's any characters in the painting, which I only did one with a character, then Disney Legal takes a look at it. And it goes through all these different checkoffs, and then they'll finally say, okay, go ahead, go to final paint. So then I go ahead and I create the final painting, and then from there, the original painting gets framed, put in one of the galleries for sale, and the reproductions are done as a matted open edition print that's unsigned. It sells in the park every day for $40. And then we also do a beautifully printed giclée, which is framed, and those are $395 all done. And those are signed, numbered, and limited edition to only 95 pieces per image.
Okay.
So
Okay, so now my recent trip to Walt Disney World, I happened to come in to see you in your tent at the Festival of the Arts.
Yes.
And I read on your Facebook page that you sold, or your painting of the Tower of Terror sold for $8,000 within minutes of opening. Like, is that normal, or is that like, wow, what is that?
That has become pretty normal.
Wow. Now that's a wow to me.
Yeah, it was. Now, I'll say this.
Like, I know sometimes yours sell before they're even finished.
Yeah. There's most of them are spoken for before I even complete them.
Yeah.
When I signed my contract, the conversation hovered around, what would an original piece sell for, and
Mm-hmm.
at the time they said, 2,800 is pretty much the top end of what we were selling original art for. Well, heck, I was making $10,000 a piece.
Yeah, I was going to just say that you were selling it for 10.
Right. My sports art, So I knew I was going to have to walk my way into that, work my way up to that mark where I felt was worthy, of the painting. And so my first one was $4,500. That was the Hatbox Ghost. That piece sold pretty quick.
Which is a great piece too.
Thank you. It was a good way to kick the door open. Kick it open with Hattie. No one even knew who Hattie was back then. It was very, very interesting how much he's become so branded with the mansion now.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, so the prices just increased because right away people started asking about, well, what are you doing next? What's your next Disney piece? When does it come out? And when you have that kind of fervor, you have all these people wanting to collect your art. That first one with the check is going to be the one to get it. And there's only one of them. That's it. It's done. There have been pieces that I did for Disney that didn't go to reproduction, that it was a one-off original, and that was it. I have a Sleepy Hollow, Liberty Square and Headless Horseman piece that was a one-off. Also, my Tiki Room piece was a one-off original. That piece, they hung it. 15 minutes later, they took it back down. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
It was very funny. They called me and they said we hung the piece up this morning, and 15 minutes we walked back over and took it back. And my paintings are very large. They're once they're framed, everything, they're almost 5 foot long. 5 foot.
They have to make room for it, and everything.
Get a helper to put it on the wall. Yeah, it's crazy. So now we're hovering in that atmosphere where the piece comes out, it's claimed right away, and they're getting $7,000-8,000 a piece now.
Excellent. Now you've done NFL, you've done the Disney, you did NHL.
Oh yeah, did some NHL too. Sure.
And Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Now, is there something that you still want to do? Is there an area with Disney, without Disney? And I'll tell you what I want you to do as well.
Yes. Okay. All right.
So is there something that you're thinking? I wouldn't mind dipping my toe into that franchise or that company. Not so much company, but that.
We actually just retooled Kevin John Studios yet once again because.
All right.
With the tremendous success that my Epcot International Food and Wine Festival piece did last year, we are now going to be doing that program, a Kevin John original limited edition run lithograph at different major wine and food festivals around the country. So if you have a wine and food festival in your town, and you are desirous of a piece of Kevin John art that talks about that festival, that kind of gives you the feel of that festival and everything, and it's a limited piece that you can get at that festival, take home and frame and put on your walls, then go to kevinjohn.com, kevin-john.com, and send me an email. And if you're involved with a festival or something, let's work together and partner up and get these things done. We are filling the calendar. it was just one of those things where, again, you know, you looked at an opportunity, and the Festival of Peace and the Epcot Festival, Food and Wine Festival, is highly regarded as one of the best in the country. So, you know, after you know, stick your fork into that one, look for more meat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Puxatani wants you to do a groundhog, I'm sure.
Hey, yeah. If they're paying, I'll paint whatever they want. I always say, as long as you're paying me, I'll paint whatever you want.
Yeah.
Matters not to me.
Now, can I tell you what I want you to go into next? It's still part of Disney.
Sure.
I would love for you to start doing Muppets. I think your style would look amazing with Muppets, with a black background and just the Muppet in vibrant color. Like I'm picturing a Dr. Teeth, for example, with a big feather coming out of his hat. I think that would be a cool painting for you to do.
I would love that. It seemed like it would really fit in with the style too. Like you said, stylized realism. I don't think we have the rights. I don't think Disney owns the rights because we're not. Because if someone would be doing that art, you know, if we had the rights for that. A missing market. That whole Muppet. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I would get behind that. I like that idea.
Jason, did you have a question?
Before we go, because we are running along,
sorry,
I want to ask
one more question.
I wanted to ask you about the Feed the Birds fundraiser.
Thank you very much for asking. From almost my first week creating art professionally, I've had a deep dedication to utilizing my artwork to help raise money and awareness for different charitable concerns. Over the last 30-some years, 32 years, we've raised more than $500,000 for charities around the world utilizing Kevin John art. And we're looking really to accelerate that. We take on both small and large projects. We've worked with large national charities, and this one that's on my website, Feed the Birds, is a special one for me, very local project. I live on this beautiful tropical island out here on the east coast of Florida, little town of Indialantic. And there's lots of beautiful tropical birds here, both that are naturally born here. Some are pets that were released into the wild here. Some are injured, you know, they were blown in maybe with a storm. And there comes a time where these exotics, you know, they need care. And there's no one really to do that, especially the ones that didn't grow up in the wild. They need sometimes the most care. And I have a friend that has this wonderful facility. And at this facility, it's a pet sanctuary, a parrot sanctuary. And he takes in all of these tropical birds and cares for them and mends them and feeds them and cares for them and makes sure they're safe and send them back out into the wild if they can do it. And if they have to hang around forever, they hang around forever. And I was out there visiting him one day, and I asked him, you know, what's the most urgent need here? And he said, food. He said, food is the thing that, you know, we cannot use, you know, we could go without Band-Aids for a few days, but food has to be here. And I said, what's the thing of food costs, or how's that work? He said, a barrel of the feed, whatever they use, is like $45. That's for a week. And I said, oh, that's not bad. So I said, you know, that's pretty much the price of one of my prints when I sell a print. I said, so what I'm going to do is anything that sells through the Kevin John store, we'll do these special promotions where we pick a different print and we'll put it up on the page as the Feed the Birds print. And everyone that buys that print that day, every dime goes to Feed the Birds. And at $45 a print, we could go weeks with feeding birds. So that's that promotion. I thank you for asking about it. You can find out more about my Feed the Birds promotion on my main website. Just take a gander, look through the navigation and everything, and you'll find that there. Feed the Birds also has a Walt connection as well. And
yeah, of course, yeah. Do they have a website to Feed the Birds?
You'll be able to link to that through
Kevin John.
Yeah, Feed the Birds is my
Oh, okay. Yeah.
promotion, so it's all right there. But you can link to the Sanctuary and their website through my website as well.
Excellent. That is so cool of you. That is warming my heart. I love that.
Thank you.
I do have a question from one of our passengers,
Sure.
Christine Malnick. She lives in my hometown, and she's a huge fan of yours. And she has a Hotbox Ghost print that you were talking about hanging in her living room.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks.
She wanted to know. I put it out. If anyone has any questions, if KJ wasn't an artist, what would you be doing?
I'd be a football coach.
Yeah, and
that's the thing that I'm most passionate about in life. Everyone thinks that art's my passion. Art's my job. Football is my passion.
Yeah. And where did your love from Disney come from? Was her other question.
It was from Walt. I was born in 1969, so television at that point was still, hosting the Wonderful World of Disney, Wonderful World of Color. Now, Walt wasn't alive, but Walt was still very much part in visual at that point through those reruns of those episodes, and even the new ones, they bring old footage and whatnot. So Immediately it was Walt that captivated me before the cartoons or any of it. That's my connection. Has always been Walt.
It's the same thing for myself. Growing up in a small town, northern Canada, Walt would show these clips of Disneyland all the time. And it's like, Mom, can we go to Disneyland? This place is amazing. I want to go. They got spaceships. And my mom was like, no, you're not going to Disneyland. Get it out of your head. You're never going to Disneyland. And I grew up like, I'm going to Disneyland someday. And it wasn't until I was as an adult that I started actually thinking I'm going to go to Disneyland. And then I just started researching, realizing Disney World is an envelope compared to a postage stamp size. And so I started going to Disney World. But I've gone to Disneyland. I love Disneyland. I love Disney World. And now at the beginning of the show, I talked a little bit about, we're going to talk about your past, your present. We did that. Could we squeeze something out of you, what you're working on? What can we expect? A month, a year, 2 years? Is there anything that you can give us a hint on? I don't want to get you I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to be known as a podcast that gets, or guests in trouble, but is there something? Are you going to D23? Are you going to Star Wars Celebration maybe?
I can't answer either of those specifically.
Okay.
However, I am creating art for Lucasfilm. So that just happened. I got that contract in July. They came calling. So that is all I can say about that.
Well, the hairs on the back of my neck are getting up already, so that's great. And
there's an anniversary at at Disneyland this year that I have been asked to create artwork for. The Haunted Mansion is going to celebrate its 50th, and I think it's just perfect that Disney asked me to do a couple pieces for that. That's
oh man, I might have to make a special trip down for that one. just to get the print.
That's Disneyland. That's
you know what? For me to go to Disneyland or Disney World, it's the same distance. It's 2 flights, 2 hours each.
I would be there. I love that place out there. Let me tell you. So that's where that's it. And it's funny because that's how it comes full circle. I went to Disneyland before I ever went to Disney World. The mansion was the thing that's the souvenir that I brought home, the little mansion book, with the record, and it's where it all began. So here for my 50th birthday, we are also celebrating the mansion, and I get to do what I do for it. So
that is so great. Before we sign off, I just want to let you know that my house is filled with art and collectibles, and as you could, people that aren't watching, but Kevin can see behind me, it's crap everywhere. Now this is my room, the basement. On the main floor, I'm allowed one piece and one piece only. Actually, I should say 2 pieces. One is a Robert Bateman print, and the other one is a Kevin John print with Ray and BB-8 walking into the sunset. And those are the 2 pieces my wife will say, okay, these are cool. These can be up here.
I'm finally getting hung with Bateman. I love that.
Yeah. Bateman's in the hallway and you're in the dining room, and now I got my Tower of Terror, Tower of Terror to put up somewhere too. I just got to get it framed yet. So thank you so
much. I got one more thing. Hold on. Whoa. I forgot about this. It's laying right here. So you guys are tour guides, and I promised that I'd bring a little giveaway for you guys. So I'm going to show you this. What I'm bringing you here. Oh, there it is. There you go. This is my Jungle Cruise lithograph.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing.
Disney, thank you. It features the elephant. Waiting pool, and it's called the Jungle Navigation Company Expedition. So I am going to sign this and do a little detailing on it here for you, little personalization. And we will send this to the winner of however you guys want to do that giveaway.
Wow.
When you guys do this giveaway, go ahead and do it, and then I'll send that out to whoever you tell me to send it to.
That is so generous and so amazing of you to do this. We're gonna have to come up with a great contest. Jason, I can see your
Jungle Skipper. I love it.
Thank you.
Dang that I can't be in the entry for the contest.
No, I know. Jason,
however, they are available. They are available at Walt Disney World and Disneyland for $39.99, my good friend.
I will be at both this year, so I will have to pick which park I bring it back from.
Amen.
That is amazing. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to come up with a great contest for sure for that. That is so generous of you. You're a wonderful guest. You are amazing to interview because I don't have to ask anything. You answered every question I had.
Like I said, the story just keeps getting longer, man.
No, I have a whole script here that just.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
No, these are the best kind of interviews. You don't have to do work.
Yeah, he's telling us his story, and I'm just checking out. Oh, he answered that one. Oh, he answered that one.
I've been doing these interviews since I was 17 too. It's like everyone's going to ask me what inspired me. Everyone's going to ask me where I got started. Everyone's going to ask me what I'm working on now and what's next. That's a guarantee every single time.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a great story. Like I had questions, but I didn't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to hear you tell your story.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is I'm calling you. You're no longer. You're a friend more than anything else.
I like that, man. Thank you. I'm honored.
And you're now an official friend of the show. And we were so happy to have you on. Jason, do you have anything else you want to finish up with?
I don't, unless you wanted to talk about your chocolates.
Oh, yes. You got the Kevin John chocolates? Hey, let's talk about that just for a minute. You know, I still have a lot of ties in my hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania. And one of the strongest ties is with a family-owned company called Romolo Chocolate. And they are world-class chocolatiers. I believe I think they're getting close on 100 years. I think that they've been doing this business, and the chocolate is amazing. They approached me a few years ago about licensing Kevin John art for the wrappers on their chocolate bars, and
that's cool,
and printed on the chocolate boxes. So we discussed a program, and we've got right now we've got 2 that sell at grocery stores and everything all over Erie, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and it's all over that tri-state area, because the artwork is very local flavored. You know, it's a beautiful beach scene, that sort of thing, a little harbor, and again, stuff that people up there would recognize and recognize as home. And my name is legit on the chocolate. Like, they sent me a chocolate bar, and it says Kevin John on it. That's on the chocolate, like, instead of Hershey's.
Yeah.
It's legit. My girlfriend tells me she loves me more than chocolate all the time. when I saw my name on my own chocolate, I'm like, I am done here. She's gonna leave me a chocolate bar right now. So, anyways, nevertheless, Romolo is just a tremendous family to work with. We've got great projects coming up for this coming year that we're doing together. The chocolate's selling really well. And again, you can see more about that on my website.
That is so great. That is so cool. I think we're going to wrap it up with that. Get out, get your art, get your chocolate, and Ken, take it away.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to send us a message, you can email us at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.